Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Prep Football Tonight, sponsored by National Scouting Report. Thanks for rejoining us after the second and final Tubetown bye week. We're going 4 straight weeks now to close out the season with some of the biggest rivalry games on the schedule. Now, although it's going to be hard to beat our last 2 games in the Tubetown Rivalry Series, if you'll go back to that 2-point Jonesboro win over Catholic on September 15th, and then just 2 weeks ago, we were at homecoming in Brooklyn when Brooklyn made that furious comeback, that second half comeback against Highland, but fell just a little bit short. But we'll show you the highlight package of that game in just a moment.
Now this week, the Tubetown Rivalry Series is back in Jonesboro as the Hurricane host the Blue Devils from West Memphis. Now this may be the game of all games on the Tubetown schedule this year. Go back exactly 1 year when the Blue Devils spoiled Jonesboro's chances at a perfect regular season with a 2-point win down in West Memphis. Jonesboro has already dropped a couple of games this year, Conway and last week at Pine Bluff. West Memphis comes into the game at undefeated 6-0. So revenge could be very sweet for the Hurricane this time around.
We expect a great crowd at Cooksey John's this Friday night, but if you can't make the trip from West Memphis or already have plans, do not miss a play with Tubetown's YouTube page. Watch the games live right there. Subscribe to our YouTube page if you have not done so, and like our Facebook page, Tubetown Online. We do expect a great crowd and a great game. Speaking of great crowds and great games, it was homecoming time in Brooklyn when Highland arrived. It's time for some highlights in this 4A3 showdown. Kick it.
Wide receiver set. Tharp's going to keep it himself. He's got some room around the outside. 10-5 touchdown. Mobile quarterback. Absolutely. 2nd and 10 coming up. Tharp looking to throw. Steps back in the pocket. Deep shot towards the end zone. Caught in the corner. Touchdown Rebels. But he hands it off to the 3rd back coming in there.
Quadruple option football.
Lane is going to keep it himself. Fighting towards the goal line. Did he get in? No, it's Highland football. He lost it. And a horse
played a great game tonight.
So now 3rd and 6 coming up. Tharp rolling out, fires it. Incomplete. No, picked off. Picked off at the. I think is 6'6", 240. Handoff running to the right for Hillis, and he cuts back up the middle, and he's going to get into the end. Hop lined up in the slot there, looking like they're setting up a screen. Nope, slant pass caught at the 30-yard line. Now to the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Tackled in the end zone, touchdown Rebels. Braden back in the game, and Highland answers just that quick. Hillis goes in motion, take the hand off to him, and it's Marsh into the 2nd level. He's at the 20, the 15, 10, 5, touchdown Bearcats. 3 plays again. Barkley trying to find an edge, trying to get it into the end zone, and I think they no, they say he didn't get it. It was Caden.
It's a really good look there, but boy, from that vantage point, it sure does look like Brooklyn took a bad break right there.
Kickoff will be fielded inside the 15. Out to the 20, the 25, 30. A lot of running room, 40, 50. He's gone, folks, unless they can catch him from behind. He's at the 20, the 15, 10, 5. He's into the end zone. Don't see any flags.
Offense out and go for 2. Try and get it back to 14.
Pass to the corner of the end zone. Caught. 2-point. It's a shotgun formation. They may go for it in the air. No, Lane's going to take it himself. Leaning towards the goal line. Got it.
Are able to get in the end zone again to tie it. Let's see how this Highland offense responds.
Onside kick attempt, and the Bearcats have got it. That was
lead of the night now.
Shotgun formation for Lane. He's looking to throw to the near side. Double coverage for Hillis. Hillis with the step on his man, caught at the 12, knocked out of bounds inside the play of the night. Will they tie it? Will they give it back to the Rebels? Here we go. Handoff to Barkley. The center collapses. They get in the end zone. Formation, Barkley's in the backfield. What are they going to do with it? Hand it off to Barkley. Barkley lowers his shoulder into the end zone. That was the easiest run he's had all night. I think we all know what's coming, and it's either going to be Tharp or Cisco, more than likely. Tharp rolling out to his left. He's got the 1st down and more.
Tackled night, but Tharp's kind of the one that you've gone to all night.
Tharp fires it, caught at the 25, the 20, and that's Maddie. Maddie's inside the 5-yard line. Braden Maddie. Tharp takes it, running to his left. fighting for the end zone. Got it. Again, Bearcats with 1 timeout remaining. See what they can do with this kickoff. Maybe a short kick, taking it about the 25-yard line. It's muffed. Trying to fall forward, and on top of it are the Bearcats, but it looks like the Rebels are going to come up with it. Connor Seat.
Dylan Tharp played well at quarterback for the Rebels and gave Braden Matty a chance to show off his speed. Then Zach Scott showed off his speed with the 87-yard kick return late that may have broke the Brooklyn Bearcats' backs. Now, Luke Hillis had a couple of scores for the Brooklyn Bearcats, and Michael Marsh had a huge play. Reed Lane played tough, but was the victim of at least 3 questionable calls that I saw for his Bearcats. Highland wins at 34-30. The Rebels are now 2-4 and travel to Gosnell this week, while the 3-3 Brooklyn Bearcats will host Westside.
As we do every week, we had a chance to speak with Larry Perrin of National Scouting Report and get his take on the local prep football scene and everything else going on with NSR. We start the conversation this week talking about last week's Gosnell at Truman game. Here's NSR's Larry Perrin.
The crown jewel of the week had to be the Gosnell-Truman game. Really set the seeding up to give you a kind of a snapshot of what the seeding is going to look like out of 3-4A a little bit. And Gosnell's clearly starting to rise to the top. Truman is an awful good football team too, and Gosnell just keyed on Cade Gartman, and they kind of kept him under wraps. They held him below his usual numbers, but the greatest respect that any opponent can give you is when they totally game plan for you to keep you from hurting them, because at any given moment, Cade could have gone 70 yards and put the game, back on the Truman side. This is no poor reflection on Cade's season. In fact, it's just an honor for him to have coaches who are totally game planning to stop him and pretty much abandoning everything else. And that won't work in the playoffs. So when you get up there in the playoffs, and Truman's going to get into the playoffs, they're going to have a good seed. They'll probably host a home game. So they're going to rebound from this, and they're going to move forward and right the ship.
Now, since we had a bye week last week, we had a chance to sit back, relax, and watch some area scores for a change. Let's hear which of those results from last week came as a surprise to Larry.
Some other surprising, games this week is, the one I really saw that kind of shocked me was the Piggott-Newport score. Coach Harrell has been battling some injuries up there at Piggott, and it looks like they got things going in the right direction, because they clipped a Newport team that was hot. And Piggott is a very good football team, a very well-coached football team, and they're going to come into this into the playoffs on a roll, it looks like. The 3A, how many times do we say this? It looks like it's going to be Rivercrest and Osceola in the last game of the season. And, this has been a historic rivalry. It's just one of the most heated rivalries in the state. And it always has implications for the playoffs, who's going to be the 1 or 2 going into it. And, a lot of times it's the underdog can come back and spoil a season for the favorite, So it's setting up that way, and it's looking pretty good. Another team that surprised us last week, or not really surprised us, but had a good outing, is Manila. And Manila defeated Corning. And they're starting to pick up some momentum and starting to play some very good football. When you watch Manila play, they've got an offensive, defensive line that can control the game, and it's just a matter of guys like David Keys getting in there and creating havoc, which he does very well, and he plays very hard. So, so that's the Northeast Arkansas teams are starting to show their true colors now, and getting lined up with regard to playoff seeding and how they're going to finish up in the conferences.
Now we get into one of Larry's favorite conferences, the 5A East. You have some teams really stepping up this year and some teams that are normally playoff contenders taking a step backward. Here's Larry's assessment of the 5A East after 6 weeks.
This has kind of been a topsy-turvy year. You know, you've got teams that are traditionally at the top of this conference, along with Wynn, who is there right now. Wynn is just doing their normal thing, but your Nettletons and your Valley Views are really showing that they can turn the corner and they're going to have successful years this year. And what's going to be kind of interesting is that Valley View Nettleton game. Can it be possibly for the crown of the 5A, or could it be for a second, third seed? It's going to be very interesting, seeing who can knock off the big boy up top. And, I think personally Nettleton has the athletes to do it. They're playing very good football. Again, I've bragged on Coach Hampton and his staff over there many times. They had a vision 3 years ago of what this program could be and the potential that it had, and it's coming to fruition now, and very exciting for their community and their school. Blytheville got a win over Greene County Tech last week, kind of righted their ship a little bit. Blytheville has no problem scoring points. They can put points up against anybody. They got to learn how to stop people, and they're playing some young guys. They're playing a lot of juniors and sophomores, and sometimes on defense that's kind of tough to do because you need that senior leadership to kind of set the tone for you on the defensive side of the ball.
And lastly, Larry talks about this week's huge 6A showdown between West Memphis and Jonesboro, a rivalry dating back a really long time.
From a 54-year-old man's point of view who's lived in Northeast Arkansas most of his life, this is a game that I remember going to when I was a little bitty kid. The Hurricanes and the Blue Devils, they do not like each other. I mean, that's just putting it bluntly. This has been a rivalry for years. My dad played in this rivalry on both sides, from the Jonesboro side and then moving to West Memphis. So it's just it means a lot to these communities, and West Memphis is rolling right now. They're having a great season, and they may be overlooking the Hurricane. And similar to what happened last year with Jonesboro overlooking West Memphis. I look for a close game. I really do. I think Coach Coleman and the guys have had this game circled all year as the one that's going to, set the tone for the rest of their season and launch them into the playoffs. There's no way that the Hurricane can be down when it comes to playing West Memphis. They're going to step up and they're going to hit them in the mouth. And it's going to be a defensive battle with some tremendous athletes on both sides of the balls on defense. But there's going to be some points scored too. And it's going to be a fun game. So, if you can't watch it live, be sure to catch it on Tubetown and on the YouTube channel, because it's going to be an awesome game.
It's really cool hearing that Larry's dad not only played in this rivalry, but played for both schools. As Larry said, if you can't be at this game in person, be sure to watch our live coverage on our YouTube page, youtube.com/TubetownOnline, or go to our website, tubetownonline.com.
We also had a chance to drive the whole mile and a half up the road to Jonesboro High and talk with Randy Coleman this week. He touches on just how big this rivalry game is and how far it dates back. Now, he also talks about the revenge factor in this game after what happened to the Hurricanes last year in West Memphis. So here is Jonesboro's head coach, Randy Coleman.
Coach, this is a big one for you. West Memphis always is, but this year in particular, just the way that your season is planned out and where you're at, needing a big win in a conference against perhaps the best team you'll play all week, if the team you played last week wasn't that. So.
Yeah, I mean, just the history of the game. It's really one of our few remaining rivalries that we have from the old conference. I mean, from back in the day when it was Jonesboro, Blytheville, Forest City, West Memphis, all those guys. I mean, this is the lone kind of natural rivalry that we have left. And then the fact that, where we're sitting in the standings, just based on this year's conference standings and how big it is for seeding purposes, for the playoffs. And then, going back to last year. Last year we were sitting in the same boat, just the records were flipped. So we were 6-0, they were 4-2. We just come off a big win against Pine Bluff, and we go to their place and lose. So there's a lot at stake. There's revenge on the mind, and then just the rivalry history. It's a big week.
Not just a loss last year, but a loss in the last minute with a little bit of controversy. Has that come up this week? Have your kids? Is that something that your kids talk about going into this one?
Well, we brought it up. It's when we had our team meeting, our big team meeting on Monday. We put on the screen, on the projector of them running out on the field after the last play of the game. And it was the last play of the game. The clock was at zeros. They make a good throw and catch, about 30 yards. Sort of a Hail Mary, but not, they had to get it to the end zone, but not the, traditional Hail Mary that you would think of. But, yeah, it's been talked about. It's one of those deals that it sticks with you for a little while because, you're looking at an undefeated season, conference championship outright. All those things play a part in it, and, yeah, you don't forget it easily.
Thanks to Coach Coleman for taking time and talking to us this week again. Our second trip to Jonesboro this year at Cooksey John Stadium. Great time last time. This week, the ASU Mobile 1, Red Wolf 1, is going to be there producing the game. So it's going to be even bigger for West Memphis Jonesboro.
Bigger game requires a bigger setup. So we're bringing Red Wolf 1 with us. We're going to do this thing right. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about this game. There's a lot going on with this. You got the revenge factor. You've got West Memphis trying to keep their undefeated streak alive and stay at the top of that 6A East. It's just
wow, how things changed from a year ago.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It's almost a complete flip-flop from last year.
Now, that was also just a piece of the Randy Coleman interview I wanted to mention. Go to our YouTube page to find the whole interview uncut with Randy Coleman. So we just want to cut out a few snippets talking about this game specifically. But just a little hint, you may want to check out the YouTube page because he goes into the minds of his players too and what they're thinking. Are they thinking revenge as well? Is it bulletin board material this week on the campus of Jonesboro?
I can't speak for the players, but I know if I'm in their position, there's definitely a revenge factor inside my head. But the thing with that is if you get too deeply wrapped up in that, that can actually work against you rather than focusing on the task that's exactly in front of you.
It needs to be just another conference game.
Absolutely, absolutely. But in the back of their mind, these are competitors. They remember, the kids that played on that team last year, they remember what happened. And as much as you try to block it out, you're not going to get it 100%. So it's definitely going to play a factor. It's just we'll see their discipline come into play and see how much that takes control of them.
Well, and it wasn't a beatdown.
Right,
right. It wasn't, it was somewhat controversial too. We're talking about last play of the game here. So all that in the kids' mind and Coach Coleman's mind too. So I encourage you to check out our YouTube page. That interview is up right now, the full uncut interview with Randy Coleman. So now just a few of the names here for West Memphis. Keep an eye on. You got your senior quarterback, Michael Troxler. He's averaging 127 yards per game. That's not bad, but here's the thing. They got a senior running back as well, Garen Holmes, 131 yards per game on the ground. That's getting it done.
That's a full day's work right there on any level of ball, from high school, heck, from a Pop Warner all the way up through the NFL. You're getting 130 yards a game. You're putting in some work.
That's a lot of yardage. There's a lot of high school. That's probably over half the yardage that a lot of high schools average.
No doubt.
That he's doing by himself. But then, of course, don't forget about A.J. Aycock, Daniel Johnson, and we saw Jamarcus Bibbs, what he can do against Catholic. So you got a trio there of some really talented Hurricanes that will be ready as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Coach Coleman will have the Hurricane ready. Cooksey Johns is going to be rocking. I'm excited, man. Let's get to it. Let's get the game on.
Of course, Ritter will be there again, probably giving away really cool stuff.
Definitely. There's more rumor and innuendo that another iPad will be up for giveaway. So stop by the booth, say hi. If you heard about it from our pregame show here, stop by and let everybody know that you saw us on Tubetown, and that's how you found out to come by the booth.
And some special thanks again, Rob Taylor, State Farm.
Definitely, our instant replay sponsor for pretty much every Arkansas game we've had this year.
And, of course, our Prep Football Tonight sponsor, Larry Perrin and National Scouting Report. Big thanks to those guys. Here we're going on season 3 with National Scouting Report.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, Larry and NSR, they're the OGs of sponsorship for Prep Football Tonight and our coverage of high school sports in general.
So we're going to be at Cooksey John's. Red Wolf Mobile 1 will be there. We'll all be there. It's going to be a big crowd, great weather.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
May actually have a little bit of football weather tonight. Once the sun goes down, you may actually have to bring out the little windbreaker, the jacket, something to kind of cover up with, because hopefully, if the forecast holds true, there's going to be a little bit of a chill in the air.
So last thing, biggest game on our rivalry schedule this year?
I think it has to be, at least coming into it. Now, I will say next week when we go back to Tennessee for Brighton and Munford, that one may come close, but at least on the Arkansas side of things, I think this is our biggest game of the year.
Definitely. A little revenge factor for the Hurricanes, possibly working at Cooksey John. So don't forget to watch the game live on YouTube, Tubetown Online. Check out our Facebook page for the bonus behind-the-scenes coverage and our post-game on our Facebook Live page, Tubetown Online. Check out the website, Tubetown Online. Watch the game right there if you choose.
Absolutely.
And follow us on Twitter. You never know what we're going to be doing on Twitter, at Tubetown. So thanks to all the great sponsors. Thanks for you guys for watching. We're in week 7 of the Tubetown Rivalry Series. Can't believe it. Just a few more weeks to go. But enjoy tonight's game and bring a jacket.
Definitely. Don't forget it.